I had these two brothers. Busty, he was a Southern Pacific Railroad engineer. And if you know Ronnie, you've met Ronnie. And you've met Wayne, you know Wayne. That was my brother Busty's son, one of those people that came. Anyway, my other younger brother always wanted to become a pilot. Neither of my brothers went to college. They ran the newspaper for daddies, what they did. And but he wanted to be a pilot. And he married a girl by the name of Hilda Hotchkiss. Her grandfather was the man who established the town of Hotchkiss. He came from Ohio as a young man and literally chased the Indians out, he and some other men, and from that outcome grew this little town of Hotchkiss. So there's a lot of people by the name of Hotchkiss in Hotchkiss. And she was the granddaughter. Hilda, my brother's wife, was the granddaughter of one of those people. And they went to school, high school together in Hotchkiss. And then when they were old, Fat was older. Anyway, he married her and they had 3 children. And after he was married, they moved down to Tucson, and he became a pilot down there. There's a school that the military took over during the war. I forget the name of it now, but that's where he studied and got his pilot's license. And so then, through that, he got this job to go to Canada and ferry planes over to London for the war effort paid by the Canadian government. So he was dubbed Royal Canadian Air Force. But he went to do that, and she decided she didn't want to stay in Tucson. She wanted to go back to Hotchkiss while he was going to be gone so much, and she would rather live there near her relatives. She went up there and took the boys. Monty was 10 years old, I think, and Dick was a little younger. And she rented a house, knew the house, the people, and everything, and he went to fly. And he made one big trip over, and I think about 2 trips over, and she had a terrible accident. She built a wood fire in a wood stove, and most people in those days would pour kerosene on the wood to hasten the flame. Unfortunately, someone who had rented the house before had left by the cook stove a little can of what she thought was, what's that stuff? Kerosene. And they'd throw kerosene on things. And unfortunately, that can had been left there and it had gasoline in it. And it exploded and burned her over about 3/4 of her body. And it was terrible. And Monty, who's the one that you may have met at some point, was 10. And he tried to take a big carpet, and throw it on her and put the flames out. He was trying to do that, a young boy that age. So to make that story go on, of course, my brother was notified right away and came home from Canada. And she lived 6 weeks. In those days, believe it or not, one of the advanced things for severe burns were to put people, believe it or not, in a metal tent that had little lamps around it. They treated the burns with heat burns. It was some remedy that was popular. It was, Anyway, he came home, and my mother went. I was in Hawaii, and Hilda lived there in that bedroom with that thing going, and then all the family and people in the small town, much help. And finally, she had recuperated enough that they thought they could do some skin grafting, maybe. And she was never up out of bed or anything, and Hotchkiss didn't even have an ambulance, but they had the hearse, and so they fixed it up comfortable like an ambulance, and they drove her to Denver in the hearse, and we were all so happy. But within a week, she died in Denver, and that was just very tragic. And they had a little girl and these two boys, and their mother was gone. So the Hotchkiss family, Hilda had brothers that were married and had children, and her father was living, and he wanted the children so bad, and Mama agreed that they could live with them. Mama didn't have full say about them anyway, and she let these children stay with the Hotchkiss family.